All right, good evening, everyone. Seeing that it is 6:30 on May the 1st, I'd like to call the Wildwood Early Childhood Center School Building Committee to order. We do have a quorum, both with a combination of those that are in person this evening as well as those joining remotely. And as always, we will go through a roll call.
Glenn?
Here.
Paul Ruggiero?
Here.
Diane Allen?
Here.
Greg Bendel?
Here.
Kevin Kyra?
Here.
Kate Bissell?
Here.
Stacy Scott? Christine Holleran?
Here.
Alice Brown-LeGrand? Dennis Kelly?
Here.
Lou Smiglia? Paul Melorani?
Here.
David Ragsdale?
Here.
Marianne Galezzo? Michael Comosio?
Here.
Craig Miner?
Here.
Vivian Varbedian?
Here.
Christine Prendergast?
Here.
Justin Couchet?
Here.
Tracy Ingersoll is not here. Lee Dorr? Dawn, Jason, Ronnie?
Here.
Julie Leduc, and Sarah Traniello.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right, great.
Thing earlier, it sounded like they were coming through that speaker, and now they only come
It's
through the
actually
computer.
red.
I know, it was green for a minute, and when Paul and Diane were talking, we could hear it over there. Now it only comes through there, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear, I mean, Julie will be able to hear, but I
Thanks for,
don't know if that matters.
Yeah.
It might matter for WCTV if it's not loud enough.
I don't know why it's not working off of this. I have unmuted it and muted it.
that's also how everybody on Zoom should be hearing this as well, right? Shouldn't they?
They should be hearing us through the owl. Can you all hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Diane Allen, I can hear you.
Thanks, Diane. I don't know. When I mute and unmute it, it doesn't turn it
You're
on.
right, we're hearing it through this, not through the owl.
Right, but when I mute and unmute, it does not
Can
turn
they-
green.
Can they see the display?
Yes, because it's being shared right now,
Yeah.
so they're seeing it through my computer,
Or through
or
Zoom?
through the Zoom, yeah.
Okay, sorry, we're having technical difficulties with our owl at the moment, which means you can't see us in the room. So if you could just give us just a moment, and we're gonna try and figure this out. We'll be right back.
Because the owl's eyeballs aren't on.
Who's on tech services?
I believe it was Glenn last.
Glenn or Paul?
Tell WCTV to pause.
What is it connected to?
The owl is connected to this
One second.
computer.
Unmute the speaker and
It got
in
some
the Zoom.
lights,
Blinking.
blinking lights on the,
So,
that's something.
Hey.
Okay, thank you for your patience. We are back, moving on in our agenda tonight. We will start first with the approval of minutes from our April 3rd meeting. Those were distributed previously through email, and again, looking for approval tonight, looking for a motion to approve the April 3rd minutes.
So moved?
Thank you. Do we have a second?
second.
Thank you.
That's David Ragsdale
David?
first, and Justin
Justin?
Couchet seconded.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call. Dr. Brand?
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero?
Yes.
Diane Allen?
I'm going to abstain because I was not there.
Thank you. Greg Bendel?
Yes.
Kevin Kyra?
I'm going to abstain as well. I was not in attendance.
Thank you. Kate Bissell?
Yes.
Christine Holleran?
Yes.
Dennis Kelly?
I don't believe it was at that meeting, so I'll abstain.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Mary Ann Galezo, I saw that you joined the call.
Yes.
Michael Comosio,
Yes.
Craig Minor,
Yes.
Vivian Barbedian,
Yes.
Christine Prendergast,
Yes.
Justin Couche.
Yes.
Perfect.
Great, thank you, everyone. Moving on to item number 3 tonight on our agenda is the approval of invoices. We have one tonight, this evening. It's warrant number 11. Julie, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, warrant number 11 this evening. First up would be SMMA's invoice for for design service in the amount of $7,500 for work performed in the month of April. Following that is Doran Whittier's invoice in the amount of $31,500 for work performed in the month of April. Additionally, Doran Whittier has provided the GBCI invoice for registering us as a lead project in the amount of $1,350. And lastly is Cartoon EDU. That would be the invoice for the 4 pillars for the video that we're going to be showing later this evening and at town meeting in the amount of $2,400. Total amount of warrant article number 11 is $42,750. Dennis Kelly with the recommendation from the Finance Working Group.
I make a recommendation to pay warrant 11 in the amount of $42,750.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay, we need a motion, right? We need approval,
Yes, we need a
correct?
motion.
Looking for a motion to approve warrant number 11 this evening.
So moved. This is Vivian.
Thank you, Vivian. A second?
Second?
Thank you, David. Roll call?
Dr. Brand,
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero,
Yes.
Diane Allen,
Yes.
Greg Bendel,
Yes.
Kevin Kyra,
Yes.
Kate Bissell. Yes. Christine Holleran,
Yes.
Dennis Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Mary Ann Galezo,
Yes.
Michael Comosio,
Yes.
Craig Minor,
Yes.
Vivian Barbedian,
Yes.
Christine Prendergast,
Yes.
and Justin Couche.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me one thing. Can you just see Alice Brownwell Grand? I think she's on.
Oh,
Can you just ask her if she approved it or not?
Alice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Moving on to item number 4 tonight, and that's next steps. Certainly a lot of activity ramping up as we've turned sort of the corner, if you will, with this moving into this next phase of the project. And tonight, Ronnie, on behalf of our design team, will provide an overview of the Preferred Schematic Report, or PSR, as well as an overall schedule and what we can expect as this project rapidly moves forward to into the next phase. So Ronnie, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brand. So as you all know, at the end of PDP, we approved the short list of alternatives for further exploration in the preferred schematic phase, which we are now entering. We had the 4 new and add reno options, as well as the repair options that would be moving forward that you see on the screen. And this was submitted to the MSBA at on April 18th. And our goal here is to go from the few to the one, and that would be the preferred option. So the steps that we will take to get there, this past month in April, like I said, we submitted PDP, and we started a couple of programming meetings with the leadership team, and that was to confirm some programming and space summary allocations. We are still working through that. We have one more meeting tomorrow where we will hopefully be finalizing that, and I'll give an update on that in a minute. This coming month here in May, we are going to take that refinement that we have been working through in these past couple of programming meetings and work to finalize the space summary and then use that to refine the concepts that we had developed during PDP. So May, we will focus on the pre-K 5 N1 option, being that's the largest option, and then subtract from there in the following month in June to work on the other pre-K 3 and pre-KK options. Also in May, we will be meeting with public safety to look at site logistics and any other safety concerns or preferences from the town. We will also be starting to look at sustainability in more detail. We'll be conducting a workshop. That date is going to be scheduled shortly, but a workshop with anyone that is really interested in participating from the town, from this committee, from the district, to really get a better understanding of what the goals for sustainability are now that we have moved past PDP. And then also we will give an update at the end of the month. In June, we will continue likely with sustainability. We will be refining the remaining options. And then we will also look at the evaluation matrix to try to hone in on the most important components of the evaluation matrix, refine that a little bit as well as we try to use that as a tool to help decipher which of the options to move forward to be the preferred option. And again, at the end of the month, there is an SBC meeting planned to give an update on all of that work. In July, we would be taking the options that are developed and using that, sending that to the cost estimator to work on cost estimating during the month. And again, looking at the evaluation matrix to try to start filling that in based on the work that's been done. An update will be given then again at the end of July. And then in August, we should have our cost estimates back. We will have a community forum that will be a date that we'll be discussing as well. And then have an SBC meeting after the community forum so we can take any feedback and use that as part of the consideration in selecting a preferred option. There is potential to have 2 meetings if we think that's warranted, and that's something we can discuss when we get to the schedule. And then at the end of August, we will be submitting PSR to MSBA. That is our goal. So a lot of work in the next few months, but I think it will be exciting because it will be leading us to the one preferred option. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Ronnie. Questions for Ronnie on the update on the schedule?
Timing-wise, looking at sort of the summer months, that community forum is going to be a little bit tricky if we're,
Right.
obviously it has to be when it is because we're, running against the times that we are. If we're going to be submitting the PSR at the end of August, then we have to have the community forum before that.
Correct.
I think we're going to have to maybe be creative in how we can try and really socialize and circulate that and try to get participation.
Definitely. And I think later on in the presentation, we'll hear from the PR group, and they have some thoughts on that as well, as far as getting information out to the community, to get them engaged, and just using all the tools that we've been using to date. I think, Julie, you mentioned that based on other communities, that you've seen the amount of participation that we've been receiving to date has been just really amazing for the town of Wilmington. The turnout has been fantastic for this phase of the project. Sometimes we have these meetings and we get 5 people, and we get really excited. Here we've been having, whether it's like 50 or 60 people attend the day of the meeting, and then because we're using Mentimeter as a tool for others to view it at their own time, we've been doubling the viewership. So it's been a great tool that we'll continue to try to use to help give access to that presentation to the community after, and hopefully gather additional feedback. So,
Can I join in on that?
Sure.
I do have to say, my last 2 projects, our community forums, there were more of us present than there were actual people from the community. It seems to be that in most projects, it doesn't take momentum until you're getting closer to town vote. However, I'm thoroughly impressed at how many people have participated, and I think it is because we've offered this hybrid option. The hybrid option and partnering with this Mentimeter platform so people can go back and watch it later if they're unable to watch it live, and still have the ability to answer questions and provide their feedback. And leaving that window open for an entire week, I think, has been really helpful. Like Ronnie said, we'll let the Public Relations Working Group talk about the wonderful things that they have been coming up with ideas to engage the community in the upcoming months, and they do have some really great ideas. But at one point, we've had almost 100 people, and honest to God, one time I had one. So, I mean, that's 99 people more than than I've had in the past. So we can only continue to go up from there.
Yeah, I agree the participation has been good for the early stages of where we are. I really think that we should push that final community forum as late as we can. It's like the later we can get, like, because the farther in the summer we get, the more people's minds are turning to back to school. It's like the second you get to August, it's like on your mind, because it's like, oh, that's the month it's happening. And so I think that
Our plan is to have the community forum in August, but we don't want to schedule it too late because we need the feedback for the preferred schematic report, which I believe we're sending in on the 29th of August.
Right.
So we need, maybe a week or 10 days ahead of that to gather that
time to
information.
digest and analyze the
Right,
Right.
so.
feedback.
Diane Allen, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm glad that you had the amount of people that you had at that meeting, but I was wondering, has anybody thought about going to the senior center to do a presentation, as they usually don't, come out at night, and they're a very large voting group in this town, and I wouldn't want to see them left out. They probably were going to have a lot of questions regarding what we're going through here. So it's just a suggestion that I throw out there.
Thanks, Ms. Allen. Glenn here. So I have reached out, I think, definitely at least once, if not twice, and still waiting to hear back. So won't give up on that front to try and schedule something, because I know that that's important. I don't recall if I said this or shared this with the group last time we met, but just to share it on this effort to try and push the word out on this project. Over the course of the next number of weeks, I've taken upon myself in my capacity, both as superintendent as chair, to try and get on the agendas for all of our individual school PAC meetings or school councils. And while it's the case that they're not necessarily large in numbers either, as small committees, it's yet another opportunity for some face time to bring people up to speed that might not otherwise be tuning in. So I think the thing that's on my mind is the effort that we need to continually take. It's tricky going into the summer, and it's not lost upon many of us, but we'll continue to try and do all that we can to get the word out on the project.
So have you sent something to Terry Marciello?
I have reached out. We just don't have anything scheduled yet. So certainly, if there's anyone who has a closer tie with Terry to help assist in getting something scheduled, I'm more than happy to take that lead and have that assistance.
Okay, I'll speak with her. We're working very closely on the senior center, so.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you.
And I know, Glenn, I just spoke because they had me come in. They have a men's group that meets once a month for breakfast, and I was able to go in there with, I want to say, close to 40 people there.
Oh,
We
wow.
talked about what public buildings was and what we offer to the town. So, another opportunity.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
40 people is a nice turnout.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And that was at the senior center?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Very good. Any other questions for Ronnie on this part of the agenda and the PSR schedule? Okay. So that really takes care of number 5 too, right? Schedule update? Or, sorry, programming, you're going to go on to that next? Okay.
So programming update, this is the meetings that I was just talking about, we've had 2 of them to date. At the end of the PDP phase, there were a couple of question marks that we hadn't answered yet. One had to do with the preschool classroom count. We realized that we were carrying 1 additional classroom than was actually needed for the Wildwood population. And before we took it out, we wanted to just have some thoughtful discussion on that to understand the future of the preschool program, potential of universal pre-K, the potential of Boutwell students potentially coming over and using the new renovated facility if there was 1 additional classroom. So, you know, it was just a lot of conversation around that. So that was one of the meetings. The decision was that we would keep the status quo. So we will be reducing the preschool classroom count by 1 to accommodate the Wildwood students only. For music, there's an instrumental program, and right now the students are pulled out for instrumental. And if we were to add it as a specials program, potentially they would require 1 full classroom. We were looking at the classroom counts for music, and also how that would impact the schedule, whether that would add a 7th day to the school schedule cycle. So that was part of the discussions as well. That is still continuing. So the instrumental program itself would remain as a pull-out program. I think that's how we left it on Monday, and we are still looking at the school schedule as far as whether it would be a 6-day cycle or a 7-day cycle. So that's still something that we will be discussing at tomorrow's meeting. And then towards the end of Monday's meeting, there was a bit of discussion on spatial priorities, and that just has to look at the way spaces are currently programmed at the end of PDP, whether, for example, specialists had offices that they were bringing students to, or if they would have maybe a group of specialists in a shared space, and then they would be going out to the students and how that would look. So that would change potentially where specialists are located, and then how they're servicing the students and where they're servicing the students. So it was looking at some of the need to haves and then maybe the nice to haves, because if we have multiple offices that will be sprinkled around the building versus maybe a grouped office that may be located in a certain location, it will just change the layout. And so we're just trying to hone in on that a little bit closer. And then also just looking at if we need to cut square footage, are there places that could be shared or could be utilized differently, for example, an art room and a STEM room, and how that could impact the program. So just some of the conversations that are happening at these programming meetings. And so, like I said, the 3rd one is tomorrow, and we're hoping to have some resolutions so that we can start finalizing the space summary for this phase, and then begin refining the concept drawings. So I know that's a lot of information because there was a lot of conversation that happened in those meetings, but.
If I can just add to, and thank you, Ronnie, just for the members of the committee, just to have some insight. So I know this is a lot of information to take in. I would try and sort of summarize it with kind of this context. So at these meetings, we have all of our principals, not just Ms. Bissell as the Wildwood principal, but the 3 principals from the schools that are being considered for this new facility, whether it be a pre-K 5, pre-K 3, or pre-K K. We also have our central office leadership team members, and we've invited a couple of school committee members who've been joining the conversations along with our design team and SMMA. It's really thinking critically about bringing together multiple schools under one roof, thinking not just about replicating the current programming that we have, and by programming we literally mean the classes that students are receiving instruction in. And we're thinking critically about what that would look like in a consolidated fashion. For example, you know that we've talked about STEM education before previously. Some of this would seem basic, I know, for most. We're also, though, thinking about the programming that we currently offer. Where are there possibilities for improvements or adjustments that we might like to wish? STEM education is one of those examples. And we're trying to be thoughtful around creating a program, which is a little tricky for 4 years out for a new facility. We do know the number of students that we're planning this for, but it is a little bit more challenging than just sort of taking the existing high school when that planning was underway and sort of moving it into a new school. There's a little more complicating factors here, but we're trying to be thoughtful about not dreaming big, but being open to trying to bring on board what we think is most important in elementary education for the future of our students going forward. So we'll certainly keep folks posted. There is an intersection, of course, with space with all of this, and we're, obviously have the guidance and leadership of our design team to help navigate that. So a lot of information I recognize, but if there are any questions that folks on the committee have, certainly we're happy to answer any of those.
So I imagine that part of these discussions are looking for, under the different consolidation options, looking for different ways that efficiencies can be found, that when you're not dealing with programming that has to occur in 3 separate buildings, that there might be opportunities for, for combining things and trying to, find, even if it's just from the perspective of both space and I would imagine also of staff. Is
Yes,
that
yes.
part of how these
Very much so.
discussions work?
Yeah, and thank you for the question and clarity. It is exactly that, and one of the things that we're grappling with also is, folks who do this kind of programming realize, with our enrollment, depending on how many days cycle we offer, that points to the utilization of space. So just for example, an art room. Right now, the pre-K to 5 building, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think has 2 art rooms scheduled, or is that a good example? I can't remember.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that
that's
was a good example. Yep.
Depending on which way we go with the program, that is to say, how many days does a child in 4th grade, let's say, receive art instruction, that could mean the balance between needing only 1 classroom or 2. And there's obviously a very big difference in that swing, and so that's the kind of thing that we're grappling with right now, to best utilize space, to not try and create a scenario where from the opening day, we don't have enough space, and we need to put, for example, keeping with art as an example, arts on a cart, because we don't have enough space for all children in the classrooms to go to. So it's sorting out those kind of things that I can appreciate. Many would think, boy, that's 4 years away. Don't we have to, well, we actually have to commit to this in this phase of the program, and by August have this all kind of locked down and a plan in place. So those are the things that we're looking at, the staffing pieces as well, and that will be, I suppose the fortunate piece of that is we can work more on that after August when this is submitted as a district to fine tune what those staffing pieces look like. There's certainly some intersection with office space or how many desks there are available for the adults in the program, or in the school, I'm sorry. But we are gonna have to look at that, because depending on which direction this project takes will clearly impact the availability of staff that we might have in our elementary schools on the other side of town. Right now, many of you are aware they're shared. If we're putting a pre-K 5 school online and we need, I'm making these numbers up, 2 art educators in that building full-time, we're gonna need to sort out what the impact of that is of our staffing in the rest of the district. So, but we do have a little more time for that piece. So.
Well, and one quick thing, I know we're talking about this, but say the decisions of pre-K through 5 in the North Field, and you're talking about adding these programs, on the other side of town, you don't add classrooms unless we now keep the Woburn Street alive and you spread kids out more, so you can offer the same amount of classrooms and teaching, right?
It is, it's something that we're mindful of and trying to be considerate of, and, how do we offer it, where do we offer it? STEM education, again, is an important point, and, or is an important example. There's no question I don't think any of us involved in the project, that this is the right direction for us to take and follow suit for what many other, districts have done at the elementary level. we have to address as a leadership team and as a district, how are we gonna make that happen and replicate that in a school or schools on the other side of town for all of this programming? Some aspects of this might be more challenging than others, but I think, I'm sure most would agree, what we don't want is to create a program that's only for one side of town.
Yes.
We want to make sure, and that could get tricky, that could be challenging, but we also don't want to lose sight of this immense opportunity that we have, you know, with this new building, whatever grade
I
configuration
mean, look at
it's.
the process this took. Once this goes live, you're another 5 to 7 years away if we can get it approved and start again.
Right.
So the more I think about it, you're gonna have to keep the Woburn Street alive and spread the kids out more, so you have those extra classrooms and the ability to teach, which is probably more staffing too, but it sounds like you can't do it as it exists today. So without having more space on the other side of town, that's the only way you'd be able to offer those programs.
I think one of the nice, I use loosely, but if we do move in that direction and have a pre-K 5 off the north side, the Wildwood would move out of the west intermediate, alleviating some of those space concerns and providing some opportunities for additional classrooms to exist at the west. The way it's written now, there are some programs at the Shawsheen that would move out of that school into the new build, also offering up a couple of empty spaces potentially there,
Yep.
giving a little bit of space flexibility.
But it just sounds like there's so much more space and opportunity in building a new school that to replicate that on the other side of town, apart from keeping that other school and expanding more, would be difficult. And again, I don't teach, so I can't speak towards the day-to-day, but I just, you know, as we describe these things, I just can't envision it from my side.
Right, right. And of course, the wild card of what the enrollment growth may or may not be, what housing projects may come online could impact any of that. There's certainly a number of things, and, yeah, so there's a lot to think
Yeah.
about, for sure.
And those are things we have to think of as we look at capital improvements for my department, because do I put a new boiler in the Woburn Street? Do I put new windows in the Woburn Street? So we may have to keep it if you decide to expand from the other side of town into another building. So, you know, I know we're a few years away from that, but
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta look out 5 years to be planning for that
Sure,
sort of stuff. So.
Sure. Okay. Schedule, agenda number 5, schedule update.
So we have been meeting with this SBC meeting on Wednesday evenings. It has been brought to our attention that Wednesdays seem to be a very popular day for meetings in the town of Wilmington. So the leadership team has been tossing around the idea of potentially moving our meetings from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. Now, I know that the Finance Committee, during the height of the season, meets on Tuesdays. But we are looking to see if we can switch our meetings from Wednesdays for the remainder of this year to Tuesdays. And on the screen, you'll see the dates that we originally suggested and the dates that we are recommending that we move our meetings to. I think there's one in here that needs to change, though. It's the October meeting. Yeah. So,
It would still be a Tuesday.
it would
it'd
still
just
be, it would be
week
the
before.
Tuesday, the 8th versus Tuesday, the 15th. Does anyone object to moving our meetings to Tuesdays?
At the town level, right now, is it just, it's predominantly Finance Committee on Tuesdays? That
That's
is
only
generally
during the
issued.
month of March,
Right.
February. And then, you know, the biggest conflict has been between permanent building committee members, because we have the 2 projects going down.
Right,
And that's always on a Wednesday. And then I think you have school committee meetings the other Wednesdays of the month.
that's
so,
right, right.
Tuesdays seem to be, on my calendar, I can't speak for everyone, the most open night I have. Not that I want to be out another night, but it is what it is.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Bendel, I think that, Greg?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I don't really have an objection, other than I think one of them stands out to me. Tuesday, October 15th, we're gonna have a selectmen meeting that night because of Columbus Day is the night before, so I just wanna make note of that.
Okay. And for the other folks on the call, most of whom are remote, do you see any other potential, again, notwithstanding the Finance Committee meetings on Tuesdays, once that kicks into gear in the fall, but otherwise, do you see Tuesdays as perhaps a better night overall to avoid conflicts at the town level?
Yeah. It should work fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Bendel.
I also would vote in favor of the Tuesday night change, considering the senior center coming to completion, beginning of the town hall, permanent building committee has chosen Wednesdays to meet, so that would be beneficial.
Okay. Sorry, Paul, I didn't recognize your voice, but thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so I think, just when we get into the new year, we'd have to adjust back probably to Wednesdays, since that would, starting toward the end of January, February, and March would be FinCom every Tuesday night at that point. But this looks good as far as for the remainder of the year.
Okay, we can, I think we can relook at that maybe towards November to look at the 2025 calendar.
Paul?
And if I did hear you right, you did say the October 15th date was going to be changed to October 8th anyway, right?
Correct.
Yes, October 15th will be changed till October 8th.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for the feedback, then I don't see this as an action item, per se.
No, I don't think it's an action item, but we would like to just remind everyone that we are going to continue to hold these meetings hybrid. I think that's been working out best. We have a great group here in the room and a great group remote, so I think it's working out well.
Will we get a calendar, an Outlook calendar deletion and an Outlook calendar
Yes, I
creation?
believe that your invites were sent by Sarah, so I will have her delete them and resend them. Unfortunately, you are going to get probably 8 invitations all in a row. Sorry about that, but.
Okay, thank you, everyone, for that feedback, and thanks for the suggestion there. Moving on to item number, you're all set, right?
We're all set.
Item number 6 is, speaking of community outreach and looking to try and really expand the information and awareness of this project. There's been a lot of work that's ongoing, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
So before the Public Relations Working Group comes on to talk about all of the items that they've been working on, we worked with a gentleman named Dave Cartoonin, who runs Cartoon EDU. It is an informational service that helped us put together a short video that we'd like to show you that will be played at town meeting. And it's an informational video about our project so that we can get the word out to the community. So Ronnie's going to play that for us. It's about 8 minutes long.
Yeah, just a couple of things for some context, and thank you, Julie. So this gentleman came to our awareness through, I think it was Doran Whittier, and he's done some work with a couple of other school districts on similar projects, not just MSBA projects, but actually other informational kind of campaigns. But for MSBA projects, can you remind me the ones that he's done?
North Attleboro, he did Situate, Stoughton. I think those are the
At least
3 that
those
we've
3.
seen videos
Right.
for.
We're going to show it to you in a moment, and wanted to make sure that you as a committee could see this before the wider community does. I will say I've shared it with the town moderator and have the permission to use this as part of the project report this coming Saturday for this project, the Wildwood School Building Project, which is great. The thinking is to share this with the audience and those in attendance on Saturday, kind of a debut, if you will. But it was important to me that you have, as a committee, the opportunity to see this video first. It is about 8 minutes long, so bear with us, but I think I hope your attention will be grabbed by it. But it is in smaller segments, 4 segments or pillars, I think as the gentleman, Dave, who worked on this project, has described them. And his recommendation is not really to put this out as a video with full length of 8 minutes, but he has designed it to be broken down into 4 parts. Think of it as a Netflix series over 4 episodes. His belief is that the smaller, sort of bite-sized, 1.5, 2-minute chunks will be better to captivate those that are going to watch it and keep people's attention. So we're going to show 8 minutes here today, the full video on Saturday, the town meeting. But after that, the intention is to break it into these smaller pieces, and over the course of the next number of months, send those out and try and push those as hard as we can on social media and such.
And in addition, we are also going to be adding 2 more pillars so that by the time we get to town vote, we will have 6 pillars, which will show from the start of the project all the way to the actual town vote. So everyone will be aware of what the process was and how we ended up where we were.
Okay.
You may have heard that Wilmington Public Schools is exploring the renovation, addition, or replacement of the Wildwood Early Childhood Center in partnership with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or MSBA. The MSBA process is like a marathon. It takes persistence, endurance, and a dedicated program that takes years to achieve. This short video summarizes the first leg of this marathon, which started in 2020. We'll show the opportunity Wilmington has to secure tens of millions of dollars in MSBA funding for the project, detail the physical need for a renovation, addition, or replacement of Wildwood, how Wilmington's educational plan for our students demonstrates a need for a school construction project to move our strategic objectives forward, and provide a timeline of the MSBA process. The town of Wilmington and our school district have a rare opportunity to fund a Wildwood construction project in partnership with the MSBA. It's a state agency that helps local school districts pay for the design and construction of schools. It's competitive and needs-based. When Wildwood Elementary was accepted into the program in 2021, it was one of only 15 projects selected, a 21% acceptance rate among 71 projects across the Commonwealth who applied in that round. The work is tough, but the payoff is significant. By completing the MSBA marathon, Wilmington will unlock tens of millions of dollars in grants that won't come out of our local property tax assessments. One factor MSBA considers is the facility needs of the entire district. How many buildings might get addressed at once? And when the MSBA accepted Wildwood into the process, it presented our town with an opportunity to explore consolidating one or more schools into the Wildwood project, which would reduce costs and our aging elementary schools. This opportunity created a long list of potential scenarios, like whether to choose renovation, addition, or replacement of Wildwood to update the Early Childhood Center for 130 kindergartners and approximately 100 pre-K students, or to consolidate it with Woburn Street School to create a single pre-K through 3 school for 510 students plus the same number of pre-K students, or to consolidate it with Woburn Street School and North Intermediate School to create a single pre-K through 5 school for 755 students along with those pre-K students. The Wildwood School Building Committee, a group of volunteers that include parents, school staff, and elected officials, conducted a feasibility study. Its due diligence on this long list of scenarios, including which site might provide the best conditions to complete the project, and the estimated costs of each possible solution. The town of Wilmington and Wilmington Public Schools pursued MSBA funding for a Wildwood construction project because each of its 6 elementary schools are approaching the end of their useful lives. 5 of these buildings were built before 1965, each now in their 7th decade of service. Shawsheen Elementary, the youngest, was opened in 1970. Wildwood, now unoccupied, is the oldest, built in 1955, the same age as the old Wilmington High School, which was torn down after its replacement in 2015. The Wildwood site and building have significant landscape, drainage, thermal envelope, and systems infrastructure issues that must be addressed. The building is not fully ADA accessible, suffers from 30-plus-year-old roof sections that need to be replaced, and steel windows that make the building inefficient, along with antiquated building infrastructure components like original unit ventilators and outdated light fixtures that would not meet today's building standards. While each of our aging elementary schools are excellently maintained by the town's buildings department, the relocation of Wildwood students demonstrates how an aging building can fail unexpectedly and disrupt more than one school's operations. Each school has capacity issues and lack the environments necessary to best meet students' educational needs. None of them have conditioned spaces or fire suppression systems like our new high school. And with each year, each building becomes more expensive to maintain and repair. These are just some of the reasons why in 2018, our town's facilities master plan recommended operating fewer, larger elementary schools. That master plan lays out a town-wide building strategy, some of which our community already enjoys, like in the new high school. The Wildwood project's acceptance into MSBA makes it the next opportunity. The town of Wilmington and our public schools partnered with the MSBA for partial funding for the Wildwood project to meet our educational goals. It's one piece of a whole, a strategic goal to provide a next-generation education to all of our students. School construction contributes to those goals, as we can see through our new high school for our oldest learners. And we believe the design of a school construction project should be integrated with our goals for our youngest learners as well. This includes design considerations like larger classrooms with more breakout space for children in the same grade to collaborate in communities, natural light and conditioned spaces for mental well-being and physical comfort, larger, more flexible space that educational planners couldn't imagine in the 1950s for things like project-based learning and STEM education, purposefully designed special education space to provide the support and education for all learners to be among their peers, and space to serve our multi-tiered system of supports to provide each student the right supports at the right time. By also evaluating whether to consolidate Woburn Street School and North Intermediate School into the project, we also may address another educational goal, reducing transitions. For our youngest learners, they'll transition between 4 schools before entering high school. These transitions disrupt continuity, a demonstrated driver of student outcomes in education. They also present logistical challenges for our families who face the prospect of having children at multiple schools more often than they would with larger elementary schools. And they increase daily transitions for our educational support staff who could spend more time on instruction and student learning in one place. The first leg of the MSBA Marathon began with a statement of interest in 2020. The work by our school building committee started with a preliminary design program where they developed a long list of potential options to address our facilities and educational needs in different ways and at different sites. Using an objective evaluation process, they identified a short list of these alternatives, which they continue to develop, including its cost estimates. The first leg culminates in August 2024, when the school building committee delivers its preferred schematic report, a single recommendation from that list of options that they did their due diligence on. Whether to renovate, add on to, or replace Wildwood, and whether this project should include Woburn Street School, or whether it should include both Woburn Street School and North Intermediate School. If the MSBA authorizes the project to move forward, the project team and its building committee begin the second leg of the MSBA Marathon, schematic design. This is where site plans, building design, and renderings become detailed enough to produce a project scope and budget, with hard numbers on the total cost of the project, as well as determining the portions that would be paid for with MSBA grant money and with local tax dollars. This second leg of the MSBA Marathon concludes with a town meeting vote in spring 2025. If approved at town meeting, the third leg of the marathon includes final design, bidding, and construction of the Wildwood project, with the goal of completion in fall of 2028. We've created several ways for you to engage this process, learn more, and provide feedback to members of our Wildwood School Building Committee. We have volunteer working groups such as communications and sustainability. You can dig into the project details, including cost estimates of the options our project team has evaluated, by visiting the Wildwood project page on the Wilmington Public Schools website. And you can correspond with the building committee and project team through a dedicated email address, wildwoodprojectquestions@wpsk12.com.
Okay, so there's the video again. The intention is to show this at town meeting, and then from there, take advantage of the ability to socialize this. But before we move on, any comments or feedback on the folks would like to offer on the video?
Yeah, I have one. I dispute the fact that the Wildwood failed. The Wildwood shut down because of the oil spill. And then it was decided to move the kids between the other buildings. but the Wildwood never failed. It was shut down because of an oil spill. And I think that's an important, fact. I don't wanna put,
Did we lose her?
I think she, Marianne, I think you
Didn't get
hit mute.
out of it.
Marianne, you muted yourself accidentally.
okay. I just don't wanna put that out there into the community when it really didn't fail. It was shut down because of the oil spill.
Marianne, I would have to say that that's the main reason, but teaching at the Wildwood for many, many years, there was a lot of other reasons why that building probably should have been shut down a lot earlier. That's my opinion, as being there for over 20 years.
I get that's your opinion, but it's not the fact.
It is, but it is a fact. I have many photos, so many things to show you. I wish you could have done a walk and see the building, but,
I actually did a few from the building a few different times. I'm not saying the building was, in excellent shape, but I just say that one fact, it shouldn't say that the building was failed. Say that the building was shut down due to, the oil spill. It should be factual, is my point.
or the building shut down because of the oil spill, and it was in very tough shape. Yes.
Thanks.
Do you agree that there was an event that led to a failure of being able to use the building?
But I think it's also,
I would just interject here that if there was an oil spill, the building may well still be open.
That's correct, Paul.
And might I say that the oil spill was cleaned to the point where the building could now be used again?
So I'm curious why we didn't go back then.
I think part of the judgment was that the oil, I think part of the judgment was the oil spill was a bit of the last straw, but I think it's important to remember that the Wildwood had, I mean, not completely failed, but it had shut down and students were kept home from school more than once during the year because of systems failures and problems with the boiler and the heating.
How many
So-
times was that? Because if you're gonna go down that path, I've been here for 10 years and I don't remember multiple times where we were down for days. If there was a problem, the problem can happen at the high school. The problem can happen at the high school today that I could not have heat. So I disagree with that
Oh, I
comment.
think, well, I think it was.
But I think, I'm not saying it's a perfect learning environment, but I'm just saying,
I believe the Wildwood shut down one time because tiles needed to be fixed. They were.
tiles needed to be fixed?
And they didn't feel.
Yeah.
But during that time, we showed the building, and people didn't feel that it was safe with those exposed.
People didn't
tiles.
feel it was safe, or the DEP didn't feel it was safe? Because that's one of the things too, is just because someone doesn't feel safe doesn't mean they aren't unsafe. So I just want, we're going down a rat trap here.
I think
of
if
opinions.
I may, just for, as we're talking about it, and Ms. Galezo, thank you for raising the point. Just to reiterate, because facts are important. The decision to close the Wildwood and not return after the oil spill, which indeed, Mr. Kyra, you're correct in that it was cleaned up. That was a joint decision made by the then town manager, Mr. Hall, then Superintendent of Public Buildings, Mr. Hooper, and myself. And that decision was collective to say that it did not seem in anyone's best interest to return to the Wildwood. So, it's, I think that is fact, and that was a collective decision, and that's why that building is not in operation right now. There's a lot of other opinions around the state or status of that building, but that piece is certainly fact in terms of why that building's not in operation. But I'll pause there. Other thoughts, comments, or feedback on the video?
Yeah, in the beginning, it said that the SOI started in 2020. It actually started there were 6 SOIs that started in 2018 with the Board of Selectmen. So that's, it went back that far, just so you know.
Yeah, just to clarify, those statement of interests were submitted in 2020 officially to the MSBA. So that's why the selection of that date.
They were approved and done in 2018 at Selectmen's meeting.
I don't believe, Mr. Kyer, with all respect, I don't think that's correct. I think it was 2020, when, during the pandemic, in which we sought the approval of the select board and the town manager, and the school committee authorized myself as a superintendent to submit those. Perhaps you're referring to other documents, I'm not sure, but the actual statement of interest with the MSBA were submitted in 2020.
Okay, we'll take a look.
The only other thing, and I thought about it the other day and didn't say anything, some of the photos we use in it after it was abandoned. So when you look at a classroom with all the doors open and all that, that's an abandoned picture, not like an active school picture, so. I know that at one point there was a picture that you took out that was of the cafeteria that's full of anything left over from the school and moved in there, and at one point we had that picture. So it's not again, the building shut down and we're not using it, but the picture looks like that's how it was when you were in there, is how I interpret it. So just a thought.
Okay, moving on, still under public relations, to the July 4th Fun on the 4th event. Is Vivian speaking to that, I think? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you, everyone. As you just witnessed, the video will not only be broadcasted during the town meeting, but we also intend to use some of those pillars during the 4th of July festivities. We have already planned for a booth and have received approval to have a table set up with a few pom-poms to attract children and parents to our table, and we're looking at other opportunities to entice and attract people to our table without going overboard, as well as meeting within the guidelines of the requirements of the 4th of July committee. We do intend to have a survey as well set up, and we've already discussed working with Doran Whittier as well as SMMA to put together a short survey that, after watching those videos or the pillars, you can help provide some input and some direction on which preference the member would like to see. So we're hoping to attract at least anywhere between 500 to 800 and hopefully more. And the first primary question will be if they are voting residents of the town of Wilmington, since we very well know that our 4th of July festivities attract all neighboring towns as well. And with it, we're hoping to obtain a wide demographic as well as an audience of local Wilmington community members that can voice their opinion and take the anonymous survey in which option would be their preferred option. And hoping that we could use that and do it through the Mentimeter platform, where we can see very quickly where most people are voting towards and what their preference is. And if we're anticipating, between 500 to 800, that would be a good, kind of like a wide net of community members to gauge what the overall preference would be. And hopefully many of you have noticed, the boards, thank you to SMMA as well as Doran Whittier, the boards around the town have been updated as well, and those same boards have been communicated through various social media platforms. The PAWS group has already had it out, broadcasted on their webpage, as well as I believe the Wilmington Apple did, as well as the school page. And we'll continue to utilize social media to push and get as much of the information out. I understand that we're approaching the summer months and it will be a little bit more difficult, but hoping that the 4th of July will attract a good amount of people and to take the survey as well. We're intending the survey to be no more than 4 to 5 questions, so that knowing that their attention span will not be very long. Anybody,
Thanks, Vivian.
if I missed anything, please jump in from the committee.
Anything further? Okay. All right, thanks, Vivian. Sustainability Working Group is up next.
So there's no update since we haven't met since during PDP. But as I mentioned, starting this coming month, there will be several meetings over the next 2 months, I should say, likely to look at different sustainability components, incentives, and also a workshop that stakeholders can participate in to look at setting goals for the project. So we'll be continuing to work on that, and we'll have an update at the next SBC meeting.
We are actively looking for people to join the Sustainability Working Group. I know you're all pretty taxed with, being part of this meeting, some of you being part of the Public Relations Working Group, your families and such. However, it's a great opportunity to give your input. So anyone would like to join, please just send an email, let us know.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Item number 7 tonight is discussion, correspondence, or new items. And we have the review of the 24-25 school building committee meeting schedule, which I think we
already did already.
tackled, right? So, okay. Item number 8 tonight, committee questions. No? Okay. Public comments this evening. No one, although we do have somebody from the public, but no comment this evening? Okay, all right. Next meeting, we have that, it's a TBD, but I think we're set for that, right? Just clarify.
Was it the 28th? It will be May 28th.
Okay.
Thanks, Ronnie.
So May 28th, and unless there's anything further tonight, thank you for your time as always. Thank you for those folks who are not here in person but joining us remotely. We so appreciate, again, your engagement in this project, and speed is ramping up as we move into this next phase. And so thank you for everyone for your attendance tonight. With all of that said, unless there's anything further, looking for a motion to adjourn tonight?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Bendel?
I'll second the motion. I just wanted to mention that, I apologize, we will not be there at the next meeting. We do have a selectmen meeting.
Okay.
After Memorial Day, which is 28th, so I just wanted to note that, but I do second the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you for both of those. Did we get the first?
You didn't catch the first.
Sorry, who?
Made the motion?
Vivian.
Oh, thank you, Vivian. Thank you, and thank you, Greg. Roll call then to adjourn.
Dr. Brand?
Yes?
Paul Ruggiero?
Yes.
Diane Allen?
Yes.
Greg Bendel?
Yes.
Kevin Kyra?
Yes.
Kate Bissell?
Yes.
Christine Holleran?
Yes.
Alice Brown-LeGrand?
Yes.
Dennis Kelly?
Yes.
Paul Melorani?
Yes.
David Ragsdale?
Yes?
Marianne Galezzo?
Yes.
Michael Comosio?
Yes.
Craig Minor?
Yes.
Vivian Barbedian?
Yes.
Christine Prendergast?
No.
And Justin Couchet.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.